Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the conversation on what to do anytime you do not feel good enough. What to do anytime you do not feel good enough. What to do anytime you do not feel good enough. Thank you so much for joining. I hope that your day has been good. Today is I think, 16th of November, I think so. Oh Lord, I don't even know the date anymore. Today is the 16th of October of November. This is what happens when you're an ancestor. You just say lots of things. So how you doing? I hope that your day has been good. Mine has been beautiful. I thought to have this conversation with you on what to do anytime you do not feel good enough. Good to see all of you joining from everywhere in the world. Thank you so much for joining. Please invite your friends. Let's have this conversation. It's going to be very short and beautiful. Good day, everyone. Yeah, I just decided to comb out my hair today. I just decided to comb out my hair. I remembered that I bought some set of combs. Yes, thank you just so much, Jasmine, for greeting an ancestor. You know, next time you need to greet an ancestor, you need to greet, with some worship equipment, palm oil, pepper snail. You people cannot be greeting ancestors empty-handed. It ain't gonna happen. Like, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? Oh, good to see all of us. Today's conversation is titled What to Do Anytime You Do Not Feel Good Enough. What to do anytime you are not feeling good enough. So I thought to have the conversation. While at it, maybe I should just even remove my glasses for whatever it is worth. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I think in Africa, it's afternoon in Dallas. It's just 2 o'clock. Number one is, what is that feeling of not feeling good enough? Like, what does it really mean not to feel good enough? Where does it come from? How do we get into that zone where that is what we experience on a daily basis, or maybe weekly basis, or monthly basis? Where does that feeling really come from? And then when the feeling comes, what are we supposed to do with it? So the first thing about the not good enough feeling is that I need to establish that almost all of us experience it. I experience it. I know that my friends do. It is just that point where sometimes you just feel, am I really as good as I think? Am I the best? Like, sometimes when some opportunities or privileges, show up, and then you say to yourself, wow, do I really deserve this? What if I mess it up? What if, what if, what if? Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. We're discussing what to do anytime you do not feel good enough, and then we just get into that zone. So I would give you an example. Anytime I'm not feeling good enough, it doesn't come as often, probably because of my profession and because I have been on this journey for a long time, but anytime it comes, it is that zone where there's a large opportunity in front of me, there's a large responsibility, and then something just says within me, are you sure you are going to deliver, not mess it up? Is that part of you that attempts to fulfill some purposes? Maybe number one, to put a check on you to ensure that you deliver your best value. Number two, to maybe introduce doubt and anxiety, but I usually deal with it in a particular way, and that's the conversation I want to talk to us about. What to do anytime you do not feel good enough. Thank you for buying the badge. I need to put on my glasses to read that name out. Oshiola Yemi, thank you so much for buying the badge. I appreciate it. So what to do anytime you do not feel good enough? The first thing I need us to establish is that we all experience this. We all do experience it, even the ones who are geniuses and the best in the field. So I study people like Serena Williams, I study Chimamanda, I study Ronaldo, Kevin Hart, Oprah, and I am humbled at their conversations, especially when they say things like, sometimes the doubt attempts to creep in or maybe to call our attention to something. Sometimes the anxiety is there. So the first thing we need to establish is that we all do feel like that. We all experience it. We all feel like, are we good enough 100% of the time? Can we kill this? Can we deliver what we said we're going to deliver and all of those things? So now that that is out of the corner, what does it really mean not to feel good enough? It means different things that I will try and explain. What does the not good enough feeling means? Number one, it can show up to introduce doubt and anxiety. It can show up to second guess yourself. It can show up to from your adverse childhood experience. Maybe when you were younger, you didn't do too well at school, or maybe you did well, but you were always being compared, and there were other people that they were always using, to compare you. Maybe your siblings, report cards, and classmates at school. And then sometimes some people probably said it to your face, that who do you think you are? You are not good enough. Must it always be you? There are some statements that we heard when we were children, and those statements are still somewhere, at the back of our minds, controlling us at the subconscious level. So that's how the not good enough feeling shows up. You are probably trying to write an exam and then you don't make it the first time, or you are scared that you may not pass or excel, and then it finally happens. Or maybe you are scared, or you have written that exam repeatedly and then you are still trying to pass the exam. So I was listening to a young girl's story that said, while I was at college, the course that I went for was supposed to be for 4 years, but I ended up spending 6 years on the same course, and I almost did not want to attend my graduation. And it was understandable. Like, when you are getting into college, your mindset says to you that in 4 years you should be done and out. And then the 6th year you are there, that simply means that the people behind you, 2 sessions behind you, are now your classmates and you are graduating with them. Instead of joy, a part of you may begin to feel that, oh, you are not good enough, you are not as successful or confident or courageous. You may just begin to second guess yourself and begin to feel like, I am just not good, or good enough. So those feelings come. Secondly, is they come from different places. They come to sometimes cripple our confidence, our courage, introduce fear and anxiety, and then also sometimes they just come to mess up your mental health and so many other things. So when these feelings come at any point in time, whether you are financially down, or you just got a promotion, or sometimes it actually even happens in relationships. You are dating someone and then it feels like they break up with you, and that not good enough feeling shows up, and you begin to feel you are not deserving of love, you are not attractive enough, you are not sexy enough, you are not as beautiful, you are not handsome enough. Sometimes it also even happens to men. Men begin to sometimes compare themselves from their body stature to their finances, to their economic capacity, to their size at different places. They just go for their jugulars sometimes. And then, sometimes it's also by the car you drive. Sometimes, we put so much energy, value, and power on the external. And once we begin to think, that is what gives us value or validates us as a problem. So how do we begin to feel good enough? What must we do differently? What must we consider? What must we pay attention to start to feel good enough? The first thing is, anytime you do not feel good enough, you should pay attention to where your validation comes from. If your validation comes from the external perspective, there's a problem. If your validation comes from the car that you drive, so you go for your end of the year party or you're hanging out with your friends and something says to you, because you drive a particular brand of car, you are not good enough. Your classmates come in, some other brands of cars or whatever, and then you just begin to second guess your value because of a car key or a car model or the kind of car that you have. And then if your car is not in a perfect state, you may also feel somehow. Sometimes we feel we're not good enough because of our accent and spoken English. Some people have what some other people call the H factor and some other things, and then people laugh at them, and sometimes we feel we're not good enough because of our bank balance. If you have a particular amount of money or do not have a particular amount of money, sometimes you may just feel like, oh, I am not on the same level with this person, I'm not on the same league with this person. Sometimes it may actually be the college that we attended. Some colleges are perceived as Ivy Leagues, some are perceived as low league, some are perceived as no league, leagueless, and then sometimes it's the color of your passport. Sometimes it is your gender, sometimes it is your marital status, sometimes it is where you are from, sometimes it is your position at work, sometimes it may even be where you work, sometimes it may be your family background. Like, if you put your value in the external, if you put your value and your value is tied to something tangible, there's a tendency you will not feel good enough as often as possible. If you attach your value to your achievement at work, there's something wrong, because what if you're fired? If you attach your value to the car you drive, what if you become carless? If you attach your value to how you look, what if you stop looking like that? People have accidents, people have health challenges, people have issues, If you attach your value to your marital status, what if something happens to your marriage? If you attach your value to the number of children you have, what if something happens to your children? If you attach your value to the color of passport that you have, what if something happens at the end of the day? Like, if you attach your value to externalities, some people attach their value to the phones that they use, and then they begin to compare, is it an Android phone or an Apple phone? Thank you so much, Ayo, for buying the badge. Thank you so much, all of you, for buying badges. I appreciate it. If you attach your value to what is external, there's a problem. If you attach your value to where you live, like, there was a time in my life I was living in Lagos, Nigeria, and I was living in somewhere in Lagos called Mushin. Mushin is the ghetto zone of Nigeria, one of the ghetto zones. Imagine if I attached my value to ghetto. If I thought that, where I live is not good enough, or I wasn't telling people the truth about where I lived, then that means that I'm attaching my value to the external. Thank you, Tolu, for buying the bag. That means I'm attaching my value to the external. But while I was in Mushin, I said to myself, anyone who cannot come and visit me in Mushin or pay me or spend the night there, whatever it is, if you can't value me at my lowest, there's no need to experience me at my highest. I'll say that again. If you cannot value me at my lowest, then there's no need to experience me at my highest. Where I am presently is a path to where I am proceeding to. So if you disrespect me because of my temporary location, if you disrespect me because of my background, then there's something fundamentally wrong. Number one, I did not choose my background. Number two, I did not choose my parents. Number three, I did not choose my family. So how are you going to judge me for what I was not in control of? How are you going to judge me because of my gender? I had no hand in deciding my gender options were not presented to me when I was being formed or created. I showed up the way I showed up, just the same way you showed up. I did not choose the vessel that gave birth to me. So how are you blaming me for showing up in that container and how I showed up? So anytime you are not feeling good enough, the first question you should ask yourself is, what am I attaching my value to? If your value is attached to the external, there's a problem. If you're attaching your value to how you look, the day you don't have your red lipstick on, your glasses, your hair put together, your perfume, all of those things, it's good to smell nice. It is good to look well, but that is not what we're attaching our value to. Our value is more than what we look. If you're attaching your value to the car that you drive, that car is going to be one of the cars months and years after. In the US presently, there are car models 2023. Like, I have a friend who is driving a 2023 car. So imagine if you were attaching your value to a 2018 Range Rover or a 2017. If you're attaching your value to your accent, it is okay to speak well, but it is not okay to form an accent. It is not okay to pretend to be who you are not. Speak English. Just speak good English. Do you understand? Just speak it. Chimamanda speaks English and we all hear. Like, we cannot understand what she's saying. Speak English. But if we have to be forming the accent and doing all of those things, then something is fundamentally wrong. If we have to lie and script and pretend, something is wrong. That's why on social media, there are some people who call themselves experts, but we haven't even seen what they're trying to teach and preach and consult and train on in their lives. For example, life coaches must have a life. We must see some level of consistency and traction. We must see growth and development. We must see that what you said that you are good at is what you are doing in your life. You have to do before you teach. If you're a medical doctor, we're expecting some level of health and healthiness, or what do they call it, in your life. We must see that you are intentional about your health also. I use the gym every morning. I don't like to use the gym, but I use my gym every morning. I'm at the gym by 5 minutes to 7. I exit by 8 o'clock. I'm on the cycling machine for an hour. It helps me burn between 350 and 500 calories every day. Am I losing weight? I doubt. But somewhere along the line, I just know that I got to move my body, whether I like it or not. So every time you are experiencing that feeling of I am not good enough, and every time you feel like you are not good enough, one important thing that you must ask yourself, an important question is, where is my validation from? If your validation is from the group of friends that you vibe with, something is wrong. Every December in a country like Lagos, Nigeria, you hear statements like, I just got back. And then people who live abroad like me can travel down and then spend money. And then there are other friends who live in Nigeria, start vibing with them. And because of brand association or association, they suddenly feel that their importance have increased because somebody who lived abroad just got back or something like that. Hell no. Sometimes people attach their importance to their titles. That's why you hear statements like, do you know who I am? No, if you were somebody, you don't need an introduction. You don't need an introduction. Elon Musk doesn't introduce himself to anyone, except you don't have data on your phone or so you don't use social media. Thank you for buying the bar, Chimi. He doesn't introduce himself at all. Bill Gates doesn't introduce himself. If you don't know who Bill Gates is, you are not online. That's all. Just pretty simple. If you have to do an introduction, then you need to work harder. Do you understand? So every time you are not feeling good enough, the major issue or the disconnect or the gap is that you are tying your value to what is on the external. That is the reason why some single ladies are unhappy because they are not married. I can't relate. I cannot relate. I am so aware that happiness is not tied to your marital status. I am so aware that happiness is not tied to children. It is beautiful to get married and have a companion. It is awesome to have children. I am somebody's child and I know that I bring joy to my parents and my mom and whatever. But happiness is not tied to other people. What if they exit? What if they disappear? So yes, you can get some level of happiness, but you can't tie your happiness spectrum or happiness whatever to your marriage or your children. Thank you, Jasmine, for the badge. You can tie it to that. All the single ladies who are unhappy is because they are tying their happiness to a marriage, to something else. That is not the design. That was not how we were created. We're not created to be unhappy till we get married. No, we're not created to be unhappy until marriage. No way. If we were, Jesus was unmarried. Was Jesus unhappy? If he was unhappy, where did the fruit of the Spirit come? Love, joy, all of those beautiful things, patience and those kindness, those things. Where did they come from? So your happiness cannot be tied to something external. Yes, you can derive value from them. You can enjoy them. They can give you some level of happiness, but you cannot be sustained by that or those things. So if you're single and you're listening to me and you're single and depressed because you're not married, it is because you are tying your happiness to what you have no control over. And that is a recipe and an ingredient for depression. You cannot tie your happiness to what you have no control over. You can't tie your happiness to children. Number one, it is not everybody who gets married who will have children. Number two, it is not everyone who gets married who will have children immediately or experience pregnancy immediately. Number three, there are some people who would have miscarriages. Number four, like life shows up and we are not in control of so many things about life or so many things in life. So if we're tying our happiness to what we're not in control over, then you can imagine how unhappy we are going to be. That is the reason why the feel good enough syndrome must be from within you. The internal controls the external. You cannot get your validation from anything that is external, not a car, not a house, not a spouse, not children, not your promotion at work, not your accent, not what you look like, not your body shape or physique or whatever you call it, not your religion, whatever you call it, you know what I'm saying? You can't tie it to your jewelry, your gold or diamond or private jet or your car or your shoes, whatever brand that you wear or the kind of phone that you use or your laptop, whatever it is. You can tie your happiness to that, because what if they are attacked? What if they crumble? What if they shake? What if they're broken? Like, what if the feel good enough emotion must be tied to what is internal? It must come from within you. And we need to now discuss what is within you. What is within you is built upon a foundation that is tied to your belief system. For the past 10 days, I have been recommending a book. If you check my bio on my Instagram page, you're going to see like a link in my bio, and then you see there's a book that I listen to daily, The Power of Your Subconscious. You can just click on it and get a copy of the book. It is written by someone, I don't know him, but the book has been exceptional. I listen to it daily, like every day. The audio book is about 6 hours. There's the hard copy and whatever. Get a copy of that book, because faith comes by hearing, and you do not have to be a Christian. So I'm telling you what even science backs up beyond spirituality. Faith comes by hearing. What do you listen to? If you are with groups of people who are always speaking down and saying rubbish about a lot of things, then that is what will come to you. Yes, I know that the economists and everybody says we're in a pandemic, and then not even a pandemic, we're in an inflation, and then it's the highest, whatever inflation. The futurists are giving us everything that they can, but you know the truth? People are also building unicorns. People are getting wealthier, they're getting richer, and I am deciding to tap into that kind of market. I am deciding to pay attention to that. I am deciding to plug into that. I am not going to listen to what the world is saying. I can listen to it, get data from it, be wise about the data, but I am going to feed my mind with the details and everything that gives me joy, everything that empowers me. So anytime you're not feeling good enough, action point 1, ask yourself if your validation is coming from what is external. Number 2, anytime you are not feeling good enough, is to say to yourself, what is feeding you? What are you feeding on? What are you feeding on? When you hear the statement, guard your heart with all diligence, what it means is that guard your heart with your barbed wires, with your dog, with your exotic and dangerous animals, with your guns. Just guard your heart. Just guard your heart with all diligence. The meaning of with all diligence is guard it, because if you do not, the world is waiting to steal from it, to kill what is in your heart, and to destroy what is in your heart. And as you're listening to me today, if your heart stops functioning, you are going to die. So when you hear guard your heart with all diligence, it is because your life is tied to your heart. Once your heart stops working, you are going to die. Once your heart stops working, you are going to die. You do not have an option in guarding your heart. It is an instruction. Guard your heart with all diligence, because out of it flows the issues of life. Once your heart stops working, you are going to die. That is the reason why you must guard it. You must pay attention to it. You must fence it. You must protect it. You must preserve it. Get the security men, get the military, whatever you can to guard your heart. When they say that there's a casting down, what are you doing? Are you announcing the casting down? Are you campaigning for the casting down? Are you the one evangelizing the casting down? Or are you saying there's a lifting up? Oh, yes, we all experience the we're not good enough feeling. It shows up. It shows up when you want to pay for something and you can't afford it. It shows up when you genuinely desire something and you just cannot afford it. It shows up at different levels, but what do you do differently? By reminding yourself. If you have been following me repeatedly, I keep saying something. The words that you say to yourself are important. That is the reason why even on my wall, I do not allow anybody to see anything on my wall. You can say anything on your wall. It is called freedom of speech. But when you come to my wall, your freedom of speech will submit to what is going on my wall. Your freedom of speech does not mean you should go up and about disrespecting other people. Hell no. People were saying something about Elon Musk and they said, he says freedom of speech, but his staff members who tweeted at him, you know, he made some post on Twitter, and then some staff members of Twitter said that whatever he was talking about weren't true. And then people were, and he fired them all. They tweeted at him and he fired them all. And people were saying, if you're preaching freedom of speech and you're firing people, aren't you doing something against that? And I laughed, because freedom of speech is not the same as lack of emotional intelligence. At what point are you going to be tweeting at your boss in a public space? Haven't you got work emails? Haven't you gotten feedback forum? Haven't you got like a survey or opinion poll, whatever it is? And I'm not siding with him or whatever. I am not his fan or his AC or whatever you call it. But the truth about it is that if your boss is saying something in public, emotional intelligence tells you not to put your damn mouth. Especially when your feeding is tied to it. Do you lack wisdom? What do you have to be told? What is going on? Does freedom of speech mean that you got to be rude to me? No. No. Hell no. The guy fired them all. And I'm like, the next time your boss is saying something in public, even when he is wrong or if he is wrong, you got to say it at the next meeting, man. Not on social media, especially not on Twitter, when you know that he's on fire there. So freedom of speech is not an excuse to be foolish. That is the reason why I am very careful and particular about the kind of people who show up in my space or even how I show up in other people's spaces. I don't jump up and about saying things on people's words just because I think that I'm wise and intelligent. No. Let people make their mistakes. Let them be silly if they feel like being silly. Whatever they want to do, let them do it. The only place I got control over is my wall. The only place you have control over is your heart. That is the reason why you have been told to guard with all diligence. Some of us are so careless with guarding our hearts. We say everything, we think everything, we do everything. And if your heart looks like a dustbin and a dumping ground, you can see that that feeling of you are not good enough is going to just be there. You will host it there. You will just be a good landlord. And you would give that feeling of I'm not good enough an emotional real estate. Every time I feel like I'm not good enough, I remind myself I am more than my achievement. I am more than the school that I went to. I graduated from. I am more than the money in my bank account. I am more than what my profile and CV says. I am more successful than I realize. You know what I'm doing? I am using what I know about myself. And because my validation is not tied to money, my validation is not tied to my location, it is not tied to my accent, it is not tied to what I look like. My validation is tied to my essence. And you know what my essence is? My essence is tied to who created me. When lions give birth, the cubs understand that by virtue of creation, they are lions. They are not going to be second guessing themselves or trying to adorn themselves with what it feels like to look like a lion. No. By virtue of reproduction, they know who they are. I was created by God. So by virtue, without my accent, without my bank balance, when I came out as a baby, I had value. And that is still the same value that I am deploying now. My value is not tied to everything that had happened to me in life. My value is tied to who created me, my essence. And this is not about being a Christian or something. This is deeper than that. And when I say this is deeper than that, yes, it is good. I am a Christian, a full-blown Christian. But even if you're an unbeliever, the moment you understand this thing, then you will see God in another light. You will not see him as a patriarchal figure or a figure who is looking for everybody to run after him or worship him, or somebody with low self-esteem or inferiority complex who is always looking for who to punish, judge, and flog. No, you would have a relationship with your Creator. You would have a relationship with who your Father is, and you can design your relationship. So my essence is tied to my design. My design is tied to who created me. That is the reason why no matter what I achieve or what I do not achieve, I know who I am and I know my essence and I understand my identity. The feel good enough or not feel good enough syndrome is a battle of identity. Anytime you're not feeling good enough, it is introducing some things into your soul that will sabotage you at the end of the day. So you have to understand who you really are. And how do you understand this? You can go on Google the etymology of the word identity, and then begin to understand where you came from, how you were designed and created, and what were the instructions in your manual of creation. You are not going to function through second and third hand conversations. It is not what somebody said or somebody did not say. It is what you know. Single mothers have the same value as every other human being. Divorcees have the same value as every other human being. Singles have, married people have. Nothing is more valuable than another. The same value a woman has is the same value a man has. We were created together. We were created at the same level. We are different but created at the same level. So it is an anomaly to me when men feel superior than women. No. We were created equally but different. And men understand it. Males do not. If you are a male, you may not understand it, but men understand it because there's a difference between a man and a male. And if you understand the etymology of both words, you will know what I'm saying. We're created equally but different because we have different designs and to fulfill different purposes. So anytime you are experiencing the not good enough feeling, ask yourself a question. Where is my validation from? Who am I listening to? What is in my heart? What have I planted in my heart? What am I paying attention to? What am I not doing well? Like, what am I listening to? If you record the conversations in your heart, will you be proud of them? Or will you say, wow, this person must really hate me? And you may be the one hating yourself. Are we on the same page? Talk to me. Are we on the same page? Are we on the same page? Let me know. Are we on the same page? Thank you so much, all of you, for joining. Is this making sense to us? I just see the good people joining. Are we on the same page? Where are you all hiding? Good. Somebody said we're good. We're good. Hoppy DG says we're on the same page. Doing says we're on the same page. Yes. The battle of the I am not good enough feeling starts in the mind. And if you want to win that battle, you must pay attention to your mind. What happens is that we want to control everything at the external level and ignore what is happening within. That is what you call an emotional fraud. You want to control everything externally. You know, it is funny to me when people want to change everybody but don't want to change themselves. Like, have you eaten? What's going on? People want other people to change for them. Nigerians, for example, want Nigerians to change. They don't want to change. Like, are you serious right now? In marriages, other people want other people to change. They don't want to change. In friendships, other people want other people to change. They don't want to change. Like, everybody wants everybody to change, but we don't want to change. And if you don't want to change, you see the reason why things are not changing. Change has to start from you. We have to take responsibility for what we want to see. If you want your marriage to change as a man, change it. If you want peace, give peace. If you want love, give love. If you want respect, give respect. If you want kindness, be kind. If you want romance, be romantic. What you are looking for on the external, create it first of all. If you want things to change for you, you got to change. You have to change. And I know that you hate to change. I know that you really do not want to change. You want what will give you the maximum reward with the least effort. But I'm just here to just break your heart and say, I doubt that works. Go ahead and see achievers. Go talk to Chimamanda, talk to Serena, talk to Kevin Hart, talk to Cristiano Ronaldo, talk to Messi, talk to Oprah, talk to Viola Davis, talk to all of those good people. Ask them, do they look like people who do the least and get the most? No, they do the most and get the most. If you want things to change for you, I gotta say it again. If you want things to change for you, you gotta change. That your comfort zone has to shake. It has to be broken. You have to feel exposed. You have to take responsibility for what you want to experience. And the people who change themselves are the people who experience what they want to. The people who work on themselves, the people who pay attention to what they think, what they feel, what they act. The people who are intentional about designing their emotional and internal real estate are the people who control things. Just study in Africa, for example, pay attention to Dr. Sam Adeyemi. Who else do I know in that zone? Pay attention to Mrs. Ibukun Awosika. I also know, those are the two people on top of my head. If you're thinking about abroad, just pay attention to people who are really killing it. I mean, who are breaking down barriers and doing stuff. Toby Amushon, did you listen to her interviews? How many times she had to train? You are not going to put the least effort and get the maximum results. That is dubious. That is a scam. That is MMM. That is fraudulent. And it happens in movies. It doesn't happen in real life. Least effort and the maximum result. Are you kidding me right now? The billionaires that you see, do they look like least effort? Forget about the fact that they're always on yachts, going on cruises and stuff. Do you know how old they are? They've been working since they were in the college or in their 20s or stuff. If you're in your 50s and 60s, you better take it easy. Let's just hear what welcome and well done, good and faithful servant. So, the feel good enough syndrome, you got to pay attention to what is going on in your internal faculty, your internal dynasty, and to take responsibility for it. While you're at it, like I said, if you haven't gone on my YouTube channel to subscribe, just input my name on YouTube, subscribe. I have an affirmation there. You can get that for free. It's an affirmation for achievers. Then I have affirmation for, I think, singles, and I have affirmation for children. Just input my name. Like, pay attention, guard your heart with all diligence. You are allowing people steal the content of your heart. You are not taking care of your heart. Once your heart stops functioning, you are going to die. And that simply means that if you poison your heart repeatedly, you will notice it in your physiology. You will notice it at your mental health level. You will notice it at your financial level. Like, your heart is your bedroom. And what are you doing with it? What are you doing with your heart? That is the end of today's conversation. My lovers, friends, fans, everybody showing up here. It would be on my page, and you can also watch it on YouTube. Go on YouTube, go listen to Affirmation for Achievers. Just input my name. You're going to see the details there. Affirmation for singles, for children. Subscribe. There are about 240 videos on YouTube. You should be feasting on them, and they're totally free. Just subscribe and listen every morning, every night. Just listen to it. And I don't want to hear, I did not have the time. You got the time. When you're in your bathroom, listen. When you're in transit to work, listen. When you're cooking your dinner, lunch, or breakfast, listen to it. Anytime, any day. Like, just listen. Keep listening. Keep feeding your subconscious. It's the same way you hear a song for the first time. You don't know who sang the song. You're not really paying attention to the song. You're just playing at the background. And somewhere along the line, you get back home and then you're singing the song. You're everywhere. Your mind is reproducing the song. You know what has happened to you. The song has gotten into your subconscious and it is now taking over your internal home. So listen to as many things as possible that will give you joy, that will give you happiness. And anytime you are experiencing the not so good feeling or not feeling good enough syndrome, just say to yourself, where is my validation from? And your validation cannot be tied to anything external. It got to be tied to everything internal. And it is not about what you have or what you do not have. It is about who designed you and who your creator is. Namaste. I love you. Have a fantastic, fantastic afternoon and evening wherever you're streaming in from the world. I will see you some other time.